You feel the cold before you know where you are. It is under your ribs. It is in your fingers. It is in the small space between your teeth, where your jaw has locked itself shut without asking permission. Outside the shelter, the night is still black, and the wind is moving over the ground as if it is searching for every crack in your body. There is no thermostat. There is no blanket fresh from a closet. There is no heated room waiting on the other side of a door. For most of human history, warmth was not a comfort. It was a technology, a social agreement, and sometimes a life or death trick that had to work before sunrise. So how did ancient humans stay warm when the world could freeze them faster than they understood? The first answer seems obvious. Fire. But fire was never just a glowing orange circle in the middle of a camp. Fire was a living problem. It had to be found, protected, fed, moved, and defended, and if it died at the wrong moment, the darkness did not politely wait for you to make another one. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, researchers have found some of the oldest widely discussed evidence for controlled fire use deep inside a cave. Archaeologist Francesco Berna and his colleagues studied burned plant ash and heated bone there. Which means fire was not just a lucky wildfire outside. It was being brought into a place where people could gather around it. That matters, because warmth is not only heat on skin. Warmth is a circle. John Gowlett, a researcher who has spent years studying the deep history of fire, has argued that fire changed the shape of human life. It gave light, protection, cooked food, and a reason for bodies to stay close after dark. In plain English, fire was not just a tool. It was a place. Picture it. You are crouched near a small flame. Not a roaring campfire from a movie, but a careful pile of embers protected from wind by stones, ash, and human attention. Someone has gathered dry grass. Someone else has carried branches. An older person watches the coals the way a modern person watches a phone battery at 1%. Because if the fire goes out, the cold enters everything. But here is the strange part. Your ancestors did not always need flames to stay warm. Sometimes they needed dirt. A shallow pit in the ground could trap warmer air. A cave wall could block the wind. A ring of stones could protect embers. A layer of ash could hold heat long after the bright flames had disappeared. To you, ash looks dead. To them, ash could be a blanket for fire. A bed of embers buried under ash can remain warm for hours. Sometimes long enough to be opened again and coaxed back to life. That is not magic. It is insulation, which simply means a material slows heat from escaping. Ash is full of tiny air spaces. And air, when trapped, is a poor path for heat to travel through. So one of the strangest ways to stay warm was to sleep beside something that looked finished. A dead-looking fire. A gray mound. A secret heat under dust. Then came the body itself. Your body is a furnace. But it is a foolish furnace if it is left uncovered. Warm blood flows near the surface. Moist breath leaves your mouth. Sweat dries and steals heat. Wind cuts across bare skin and makes the cold feel sharper than the air temperature alone. Ancient humans did not need modern science to know this. They learned it because the people who ignored it shivered, weakened, and sometimes did not wake up. Clothing was one of the greatest survival inventions in human history, even though most clothing rots away and vanishes from the archaeological record. Skins decay, plant fibers disappear, fur breaks down. What remains are the tools, the marks, and the clues left behind. Archaeologist Ian Gilligan has written about Paleolithic clothing and the importance of hide needles. Those tiny bone or ivory tools with holes for thread. Paleolithic means Old Stone Age, the long period when humans used stone tools before farming in cities. An eyed needle may look simple, but it means something enormous. It means fitted clothing, not just a hide over your shoulders, not just a skin wrapped around your waist. Fitted clothing, sleeves, seams, layers, pieces joined tightly enough to keep air from rushing in. Why does that matter? Because loose fur can warm you while you sit. But fitted fur and leather can warm you while you move, hunt, carry a child, climb over rock, or run through wind. A gap at the wrist or neck is not a fashion problem. It is a leak in your survival system. Francesco Derrico and other researchers studying bone tools have helped show how these small objects can reveal big changes in behavior. A needle says that someone had the patience to pierce bone, shape it smooth, make thread, prepare hide, and stitch pieces together before the cold became unbearable. That is planning. That is memory. That is a winter being survived before it arrives. Now imagine the scene. You are not wearing one clean animal skin like a costume. You are wearing a patchwork system. Fur turned inward against your body. A tougher hide layer outside. Dry grass stuffed into gaps. A cord tied around the waist. Maybe a hood-like piece pulled over your head. Because heat escapes quickly from exposed skin when wind is moving. It might smell like smoke. It might be greasy. It might be stiff, heavy, and scratched by old repairs. But it keeps you alive. Some of the strangest warmth was not worn on the body at all. It was carried. A heated stone can become a portable ember without flame. Warm a stone near the fire. Wrap it in hide or plant fiber. And it can heat hands, bedding, or the inside of a shelter. Choose the wrong stone, and trapped moisture inside it can crack or burst when heated. Choose the right stone, and it becomes a pocket of nighttime survival. This is the kind of technology that almost never appears as a clean invention in a museum. No label, no patent, just someone noticing that one rock stayed warm longer than another. Another trick was shared breath. Not romantic, not symbolic, practical. When several bodies sleep close together, each body loses heat into a smaller space. Children tucked between adults are protected from the open air. Dogs, where humans lived with them later in prehistory, could add warmth and warning. A group sleeping in a tight shelter creates a warmer pocket than one person alone. This is why loneliness could be physically dangerous. A modern person may think of privacy as comfort. For ancient humans in cold places, too much space could kill. Your body alone has to heat the whole darkness around it. Your body in a group only has to heat the small boundary between skin, fur, breath, and shelter. Archaeological sites such as Dolní Věstonice and Pavlov in what is now the Czech Republic have given researchers a powerful glimpse into Ice Age life. Olga Sofer and colleagues studied evidence from these Upper Paleolithic sites, including impressions and traces linked to fiber technologies. Upper Paleolithic means the later part of the Old Stone Age, when humans were making more complex tools, ornaments, and art. Fibers matter because warmth is not only about skins. It is also about tying, weaving, netting, sewing, wrapping, and packing materials together so air gets trapped where the body needs it. Trapped air is the hidden hero. Fur works because it traps air. Feathers work because they trap air. Dry grass works because it traps air. Even a messy pile of leaves can be warmer than bare ground if it keeps your body from touching the cold earth directly. So yes, ancient humans may have stayed warm by sleeping on plants. Not because it was soft. Because the ground was stealing heat. The earth does not feel cold only because it is cold. It feels cold because it conducts heat away from you. Conducts simply means it carries heat through contact. Lie on bare stone or frozen dirt, and your body becomes the thing warming the ground. That is a terrible trade. A bed of grass, leaves, hides, or branches interrupts the theft. At Sibudu Cave in South Africa, archaeologist Lynn Wadley and other researchers have studied ancient plant bedding, including layers of grasses used by early humans. Those beds were not luxury furniture. They were platforms against insects, dampness, dirt, and cold contact with the ground. A bed could be medicine. A bed could be insulation. A bed could be a line between sleep and danger. Then there was smoke. Today, smoke feels like a problem. It stings your eyes. It makes your clothes smell. It blackens walls. But in a cold ancient shelter, smoke could be part of the system. It helped dry damp hides. It discouraged insects. It cured materials so they lasted longer. And smoky clothing could carry a little memory of the fire wherever you went. Not heat exactly, but preparation. Dry clothing is warmer than wet clothing. Dry bedding is safer than damp bedding. Dry fuel lights faster than wet fuel. In a world without matches, smoke was not only a nuisance, it was a slow tool. The counterintuitive twist is that ancient warmth was rarely one big solution. It was not just fire. It was not just fur. It was not just a cave. It was layers of small advantages stacked on top of each other until the night became survivable. A wall against wind, a roof against rain, a raised bed against cold ground, a group of sleeping bodies, a fur seam tightened with sinew, which is dried animal tendon used like tough string, ash over embers, dry grass inside clothing, a child placed at the center, a stone warmed before sleep. Each piece might seem weak by itself. Together, they become a human climate. This is why ancient warmth was social. Someone had to gather fuel before dark. Someone had to know which plants stayed dry. Someone had to scrape hides, twist cord, repair seams, and watch children who could roll too close to the fire. Someone had to remember the sheltered hollow from last winter. Warmth was not owned by one person. It was made by the group. And that changes how you think about intelligence. The smartest ancient survival tricks were not always dramatic. They were boring enough to repeat. Dry the hide before it rots. Patch the hole before the wind finds it. Move the sleeper away from the cave mouth. Keep the embers alive under ash. Store fuel where rain cannot reach it. Do it again. Do it tomorrow. Teach the child. Because the cold does not care whether a trick is exciting. It only cares whether heat escapes. Now look at your own life. You press a button and warm air appears. You pull fabric from a drawer and forget the thousands of years hidden inside it. You sleep alone in a room that would have seemed unbelievably dangerous without walls. Insulation, pipes, wires, and a power grid standing between your skin and the weather. But your body has not forgotten. You still curl inward when you are cold. You still pull blankets around your shoulders. You still move closer to other people, to warm light, to small rooms, to anything that feels like shelter. Your nervous system still understands that warmth is safety before your mind turns it into a thought. That is the ancient truth inside a modern blanket. Warmth is not just temperature. It is protection. It is closeness. It is planning that happened before you needed it. And long before a thermostat could rescue you. Your ancestors survived by turning fire, fur, dirt, ash, plants, stones, smoke, and each other into a fragile circle of heat. You feel the cold before you know where you are. But now, you know what kept it from taking you.